So every coach will inevitably have a session that doesn't go right. So what do you think changes when the coach stops trying to do everything perfect?
Because coaching really isn't a script, it's a conversation. The moment you let go of forcing it to go right, you open space for it to go real. And that's where growth happens. Think of a time when things just didn't go right. But looking back, they actually went exactly how you needed them to go. So what does that tell you about our expectations? How could you use this situation for you instead of against you? So trying to control a session will actually kill your presence. Being flexible fuels more insight. Sessions usually unfold the way that they need to go, not how you actually planned it. This is where growth lives. It lives in imperfection. And that's why today's quote is, growth doesn't follow your outline. It follows truth.
So why do you think coaches cling to plans?
They do it for safety because they're so afraid of failure. They want everything to go perfect. But in reality, that perspective isn't helping them. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help your clients.
So what do you see happens when they release that?
The client actually leads the session and authenticity increases. You actually can get to the real answers because when a client feels free to share, they actually gain more clarity.
So I know this doesn't mean you never prepare, but how can you prepare without over-controlling?
Simple. You still have a structure, but you hold it loosely. Let the session go the way that it needs to go. Even if you have a plan, you could still have a really powerful session if you're still flexible about it.
So I want to share an example of this so you can see it in action. Because sometimes clients actually try to control the session and you find out later, it's actually a version of self-sabotage. So I've had this happen a lot. Recently, I was having a conversation with somebody who wanted to grow their business. And so I had an idea of what I could ask them to help them continue to grow it in a way that didn't require them to take on any more actions, but for them to get better results. However, after a few sessions, I noticed that it wasn't necessarily business that they needed the most help in. It was actually their relationships. After a few conversations, we got to the root of the belief that was actually holding them back. And the belief was, this business is actually taking me further away from my family. So when it was business time, they actually wouldn't work their business. They stopped taking the actions they needed to take because in reality, they had a belief that in order to succeed in business, they had to fail with their relationships. And that is not the truth, but it's what my client currently believed. And this might actually be something that you're dealing with right now too, is you're so focused on one area that you steer your conversations in that area when in fact, if you were a little bit more open about the direction for you to go, you might actually find what's really holding you back. This is what great coaches do. Is yes, you might come to them for one situation, but if they see that something else is actually holding you back, they're willing to pivot and adjust because that is truly what they need. Now, inside of our certification, we talk a lot about how to balance this idea of being spontaneous, but also having structure because there really is a best place there somewhere in the middle. And then once you figure that out, just trusting the process and really remembering to focus on your intuition is truly going to help your client get the results they want. Because remember, if they knew what they needed, they would have already achieved it. So today we talked about overcoming the idea of forcing the sessions to get them perfect. And when you stop doing that, you start showing up as your real self, but so does your client. And that's when another powerful moment happens. When you finally find your voice. This is how you separate yourself from all the other coaches and all the other people who you may think do the same thing as you, but who absolutely don't. We'll share what we mean in breakthrough number 9.